Hello, everybody, and welcome back to DiversiTEA. I am so glad that you are here. As always, my name is Tyler Baker, and I am joined by my co-host, Evelyn Nitch Griffin.
That's me.
And Evelyn, who are we joined by today?
So we are joined today by Cole Denisen, the Assistant Professor of Education here at Landmark College. Welcome, Cole.
Thank you both for having me here. This is great.
You're very welcome.
Per tradition, the first question we always ask folks when they get here.
Oh my.
What kind of tea are you drinking?
Putting me right on the spot with the
Have
first
to.
question. Yeah. This is Bigelow Calming Chamomile. It is a little later on in the day. I like to relax, and this is my go-to.
And I drink chamomile every day. This time I spiced it up with some honey. So we're vibing today. That's for sure.
All right.
Spiced it up with honey.
Yeah.
All right.
The well-known spice that honey is.
The most epic spice of all time, honey.
I was going to say it's like a very Midwest thing, too.
I took a bus to the Midwest once, right? So I came back with
That's like the most Midwest thing I've ever heard. I took a bus to the Midwest to see the Midwest. Okay.
all the way out to Iowa.
You went to Iowa?
Yeah, for a conference once.
Did you see Cole?
I did not see Cole. It was at a linear algebra conference. I took a 48-hour bus ride there. I couldn't get the funding for the event to be flown. So I hopped on a bus. Enough about me. We're here to talk about you, Cole. And Cole, that's my Iowa origin story.
Okay.
But I want to know your Landmark origin story.
Isn't that that segue was beautiful. I love that transition. That
Best
was
thing
amazing.
I've ever seen.
It like on point.
Well, for years I'd put Segway on my Christmas list, but my parents never got me one, so I had to start building my own.
Oh, there you go. So you asked what my origin story is. That is a really interesting story. As I like to tell people, Landmark has been on my radar for a very, very long time. So my dissertation and really my research interests, this kind of folds into some other questions you were going to ask, is in the lived experiences of neurodivergent college students. And so I began my dissertation process about 4 years ago is when I really started developing the idea of developing it into my dissertation. And so I looked up, what were the programs out there serving neurodivergent college students, and sure enough, their Landmark was. So I looked into it a little bit, looked at what programs were being offered, looked at the mission statement, the missions and values statement, and, added some of it to my dissertation process. So it's always been kind of in the back of my mind. I've been working with neurodivergent college students for about 5 years now, first at the University of Iowa at the Bell and Blank Center, which has a program specifically for twice exceptional students. So it's been very much a part of my identity, my interest. And so when I graduated, I was like, oh, hey, that Landmark place, I wonder if they have any positions open. And sure enough, there was an assistant professor position that opened up, and I was like, oh, well, here we go. A couple of months later, I was talking with Katie Rockmore about coming here as a faculty member, and I've been here for a couple of months now and really enjoy it.
We were talking before the show started. I brought up apples.
Yeah.
And we had brought up bananas a little bit, and I kind of want to know now.
Oh, no.
Apples, oranges, or bananas?
Seasonally, I'm a big fan of like Fiji's or a good Honeycrisp, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
A really good Honeycrisp, like you get that snap. Gosh, it's really hard to beat that. Just a really, really great Honeycrisp apple. If we were ranking them, if I had like an apple, a banana, and an orange in front of me, and that apple was a Honeycrisp, I'd probably go for the banana first, the apple second, the orange third.
Okay, so Cole, we're also, curious. You touched upon, how your, dissertation work, led you to Landmark.
Yeah.
So I'd like to know a little bit more about your specific dissertation work.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
If you just, give us the elevator pitch, and then, you can expand off on that if you'd like.
I've been getting better with the elevator pitch.
Ooh.
One of the things I'm not so great at is actually telling folks what I do for research. So I'm trying to get better at the 10,000 foot view, as I like to say. It's the big scope. Is I study normality. What does it mean to actually be normal? How has that narrative been shaped across history? Who has had influence in shaping that idea? As someone who is neurodivergent, diagnosed ASD, ADHD, I don't like those terms for various reasons. I prefer identifying as a neurodivergent individual. I also had some skin in the game as it. I was very interested in what research was out there about neurodivergent college students and how we best support them. So when I began my dissertation work, I looked to see what was out there in the higher education literature. Turns out not too much. Very, very little, which is quite concerning for a number of reasons. Because how do you support students when there really isn't a there, when there isn't things like best practices that have been developed? What does it mean when there are theories that have been developed without neurodivergent perspectives, voices, and shaping those theories? And how does that filter down to actual practice? And that is something that I wanted to address in my dissertation. And so I asked neurodivergent students, like, what are your experiences? And what have your experiences been like in higher education? Where do you feel the tension points? And there were a few, as it turns out. One of the most common ones is feeling misunderstood, trying to tell people their experiences and being dismissed, being told that they're overplaying it, and even being told that they're lying about their experiences, which is pretty common, unfortunately. And so that is something that I try to actively push back against in my scholarship.
That's a pretty good elevator pitch.
Yeah. If the elevator door opened, I'd be like, yeah, this guy. All right, yeah, this guy.
Fair enough.
Well done. At this point, I was going to ask you what classes you teach, and I'm going to circle back around to this. But before we got started, folks, before we even went on camera, we were sitting here talking about video games. And there were games I don't even know. I'd like Diablo Spell 3 or something like that. So I'm going to ask you, what games are you playing right now? Because you seem pretty passionate about it.
Gosh, yeah, I'm a gamer. I stream on Twitch, which I've already told you about.
Well, tell them.
The Game Doc at Twitch.
Oh, that's like your name online.
That is my tag.
And that's doc. That's doc as in doctor, not like, where you more about.
Yeah.
So no K?
No K. So I'm actually part of a group of neurodivergent streamers. We just, we show up, we start playing video games, we talk as a community, we just hang out, really. We have a variety of different games that we play. Sometimes it's Murder House on Jackbox, which I love. It's by far my favorite game to play as a community. Hunt, which has been a pretty good one recently. Smite, we play a lot of Smite as well. If I'm playing solo, I tend to veer more towards the horror genre. Oh, Elden Ring, which is not really horror, it's more like fantasy sort of stuff. I play Resident Evil, Village. I love Resident Evil as a series. It's one of the things that helped me like fall in love with video games as a pastime, as a medium. So yeah, I play a lot and often.
I was curious, what's the first video game you remember playing?
Oh gosh, yes. Super Mario Brothers, and not just any Super Mario Brothers, but the one that was also including Duck Hunt. So yeah, I played the heck out of that. Video games very much are a part of my safe place. I always feel like I can come back to them, and they help me de-stress. If I'm having a really rough day at work, or I just need to relax a bit. Video games have always been this thing that I can come back to and engage in.
Well, then now I'm going to ask you.
Sure.
What sort of classes do you teach, and what would you ideally maybe want to develop in terms of courses to teach while you're here?
Oh gosh, that's a dangerous question, Tyler.
Well, we're a dangerous show.
It's a dangerous question, my friend. As I've just had a conversation with some of my colleagues too about potential classes that we can offer here. So right now I'm teaching neurodiversity in culture and society, which I love. I also teach various perspectives courses, perspectives in learning, and how does that shape how we understand this process that we call learning. Now, you asked about what courses I would love to develop. Oh goodness. I love history. I love history of higher education specifically. I love the history of diverse populations in higher education. Higher education has 1,000 years of history, thousands, plural, years of history behind it, and has been continuously shaped by a number of different narratives and ideas. So I would love to develop a course where we actually dive into that. What does it mean to go to college?
Yeah, you talk about the diversity of higher education. When you're talking about, that kind of diversity, what's something that you always, try to make sure is included in that conversation?
Intersectionality. Folks are not one thing. We are not defined by a singular experience. Too often, conversations like neurodiversity are taken from the perspective of, we are all neurodivergent folks. We all have the same experiences, and that's just not true. And there are often things that get lost in conversations like that. How things like masking do not show up the same way for different folks, especially if you have multiple marginalized identities that you're navigating. Things like burnout look different for different folks. It's when I'm trying to navigate both racialized identity and, disabled identity, that can have a compounding effect when it comes to things like burnout. That is a lot to navigate, and it affects people.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something that I'm trying to dig more into in my scholarship. But yeah, I would absolutely love to continue to bring that to any conversation that I have. It matters.
A couple of things I want to follow up on that. One, where can students find your office?
Yeah.
And then two, if they want to come talk to you, what do you hope they come talk to you about?
Oh, anything and everything. I hang out. My place is in Lewis 103, right outside the Drake Center. Again, I am a higher education nerd. I love talking to students about anything that is of interest to them. What are your classes like? What are your interests? Please tell me your special interests. I would love to geek out with you and share that passion that you have.
Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about before we wrap this up?
Oh, gosh. I have a website, it's theneurodivergentscholar.com, where I post all sorts of different things, what I'm working on as far as scholarship. You can read some of the scholarship that I produced. I also have a YouTube channel, which goes by The Game Doc, same name. And I have podcasts, the Neurodiversity podcast that I am. I've got 2 episodes that are available on my website, and I'm working with Han, Dr. Beebe, in order to develop it further.
That's so cool. I mean, really, cool. That is so cool.
So thank you so much for joining us, Cole. This was a blast. Great talking to you, and I'll be tuning into your stream, The Game Doc, sometime soon.
I appreciate it. It's been an absolute pleasure coming here and chatting with both of you and geeking out a little bit.
All right, folks. Thank you so much, as always, for stopping by, for being here with us and taking part in our conversation. And we will see you next time for another episode of DiversiTEA.